I am Mr. Sneezy. Hold on, hold on. I am Mr. Sneezy. Or would it be better like... I am Mr. Sneezy. Let me know in the comments. I am Mr. Sneezy, though. Hello. Ooh. Then why don't we rectify that? How do I change my name again? Oh, boy. There we go. Hello, everyone. The other guy should be along shortly. Maybe I'll play a song, huh? Probably not. I'm Mr. Sneezy. Gotcha. I'd start to play a song, and I'd just start sneezing. Here he is. Here
I is. Wait,
is.
I'm sorry I came in the middle of the sneezing story. Tell me
sorry.
more.
Hold on. I tried it out. I tried a bunch of alts. So, hold on. Here's... I'm Mr. Sneezy. Okay, hold on.
Okay. That was one.
I am Mr. Sneezy. Okay, and then here we go.
Two.
Hold on.
So wait, you need the third one.
No, hold on.
Glasses
Hold
on. Oh, I don't
We've
mean
already...
to give it away.
There's precedent. Hold on.
Sorry.
Okay, now? I am Mr. Sneezy. I'm trying to channel David Caruso from...
obviously.
And then go... Yeah, insert any The Who song.
Any The Who.
Yeah.
Annie the Who. Annie the Who.
Yeah.
That's our show for tonight, folks.
Bye. I was going to pitch my sequel to Annie.
Yeah.
Where she grows up and Mr. Morbucks or whatever.
Daddy Warbucks.
That we're not going to call him Daddy. It's problematic. You can't say anything these days. And she grows up and she has to get her driver's license, and it's a real solo a Star Wars story thing where we find out how she gets her last name The Who. Because it's like, who are you? And it's like, yes. Okay, we'll call you Annie The Who. It makes just as much fucking sense as that goddamn Solo movie.
That was so bad.
It was,
so
the
obviously...
movie's okay. I think
there's good
the way
bones.
you did about Uncharted, where it's like, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's a movie, and it's
just weird. Like, it's going one way, and it's not like the second director went back and redid earlier things. It just looks like they stapled it on. You know that thing they used to do where you'd get like a section of paper and you get like the lines where you're supposed to draw within, and you draw whatever and it connects to the next page?
Yeah.
It looked like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was odd, and it ended really abruptly, if memory serves. They had so many good things going.
He shoots
for
Woody
it.
Harrelson. That's it.
Yeah,
It's pretty much the end of the movie. Oh, Darth Maul shows his lightsaber.
Is that what happens? Oh,
Yeah.
right.
So they kill.
Does he have his spider
They kill
legs?
the Vision. You don't see his legs, but yes, he does have his spider legs canonically at that point. He kills Paul Bettany, or
Yeah, but
Emilia
what
Clarke
is-
kills Paul Bettany.
But what is grief? It's not something with a Wookiee.
Are there any other Marvels in that? I guess Emilia Clarke is a Marvel now.
Is she a Marvel? What is she Marvel?
She's going to be in Secret Invasion.
It doesn't
which
count till it happens. She
Which
might
I'm
be a
looking
Skrull.
forward to. Okay, fine then.
Sure, it could be good.
Then 3 months from now, she's.
Is it really that soon?
Yeah, man. Ant-Man's in less than a month.
I'm looking forward to that.
I hope it's good. You know, look, you know what? I do need to throw this up because of what the trailer did. The trailer, the last trailer that came out like last week, showed the entire movie.
Did it really?
Like it showed it was a Sony level, like Sony historically with their Spider-Man movies and their comic book movies. You see the last scene of the movie. In The Amazing Spider-Man 2, they literally showed the last frame.
Yeah, I had to stop watching trailers.
I think I'm gonna
Like,
do that. If Marvel's going down this path where they're
Yeah.
literally showing all of the beats, all of the fucking story beats,
really
and the
give up.
resolutions, like
You know what I found
there's
to be
like
the best
dialogue in
thing?
there where
The
it's
best thing to go for is when they do a teaser trailer.
yeah, watch that, then fuck
that.
off. Yeah,
Yeah, because even although you can get misled, because if you go back and watch the teaser trailer
for
to
Infinity
the prequels,
War.
no, for the prequels.
Oh,
If you watch it for the prequels, they look like they're going to be good.
yeah. Well, there's some podcaster. I feel like it's one of my Australian boys said, if you can't cut a 2 hour movie down
Into a
to
decent
a
trailer,
1.5 good minutes, 90 good seconds, then your movie's
Yeah,
unwatchable.
yeah, unseeable.
Yeah.
The
And it turns out, even if you can make a good trailer, sometimes your movie's still unwatchable.
sometimes you just had 90 seconds worth of good.
And that was it.
Kevin Smith on one of his many podcasts had the guy on who cuts like a lot of the big trailers, but like really good trailers. And the weird thing is, those guys are pretty much left to their own devices.
Yeah.
They just
Which
they
doesn't make
they-
sense to me.
No, none whatsoever. The people.
I think James Gunn has a more hands-on approach when his stuff is released.
I'll say, yeah. The Guardians 3 one is pretty good.
Yeah, but again, that's just the teaser, I think.
Yeah, don't watch another one.
So I'm not going to watch another one. They show a lot, but they don't show what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And Ant-Man, I mean, like, they show what's going to happen in order.
Yeah. I don't honestly, and I don't know how I feel about them putting import to the Ant-Man movies, because the Ant-Man movies have been a delightful sorbet up to now.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
think
here's
about
all this heavy shit,
Right.
and then there's Scott making like, a slide,
Right.
shoots and ladders in
right.
his house.
He makes this whole house a playground and plays the electric drums.
And no Baba Yaga guy.
He's in it. He's in it.
No, oh, he is?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he might
is
be
Michael
playing someone
Pena
else,
in it,
but he's
though?
in it.
Is Michael Pena in it?
I don't think so.
Because I had this idea, and I think they need to do about a 20 to 25 minute
Like a special
show
presentation?
of just Michael Pena explains the Marvel
The
Cinematic
MCU?
Universe.
That would
Yeah,
be so good.
that would
I
be
think
the,
I
okay,
think
guys,
there's a bit
at the beginning.
I think there was a bit like one of those Wired interviews or some shit where they had him try to do that.
Oh, did they?
I think, but
I bet it's not as good as my
it's
idea.
probably not. And like, if someone like a James Gunn, although he's busy trying to put out the
Fix
fire
DC,
that is the
yeah.
DC universe, Godspeed to him. But if you get a good writer, I would have said Taika Waititi before. Like a year ago, I would have said that.
Nope,
but
not now.
After
Not
Love
no
and
more.
Thunder, no.
Yeah, all you need is one bad one. And I'm
Yeah.
like, nah.
Yeah.
I'm tempted to go back and watch it, but why do that to my beautiful
I
mind?
did.
Yeah,
I've
and?
seen it again.
And? Wait, how much space elapsed from your initial disappointment to your considering a reconsideration?
When I walked out of the theater, I kind of liked the movie.
Did you?
And then the week that proceeded, I was just like, oh no, it was just a bunch of lights and colors and characters I like, and they weren't really doing anything of interest or
it
value.
was very much a heroes round, not a heroes round, a victory lap from the movie before it. Like, remember all the shit you liked about that movie?
Right. It felt like Age of Ultron.
Well, but I like Age of Ultron.
I know.
I thought
but
that
it
had
feels
more
like
going for it.
the
I thought
first
that had more
one,
going
the
for
first
it.
Avengers was a paint by numbers thing, and they got a lot of success with that. And then they were like, hey, Joss Whedon, do that again. And he's like, okay, but I want to do Ultron. And Ultron's a really weird villain, and I cast James Spader. It's like, yeah. But just do, the thing where they're sort of a team at the beginning, and then
I will say
they
I
fight for a
hated them-
bit, and then they do a big smashy battle at the end. Do that.
As always, I hated initially. I hated how they killed off Pietro, and then it just made total sense. Ultimately, like that was the heel turn of Wanda might be the last thing they planned really well.
Yeah, and I think they fumbled the execution. I think in
Really?
the Doctor Strange movie, I think they did. And I think
thought she was great.
I thought she was great. I thought everybody in that movie, even Benedict Cumberbatch's I am American. Hello, I am from New York City accent was even it didn't take me out
It's
of the
gotten
movie.
better. I'm
Yeah.
watching the Eli Stone. I think I mentioned before. Johnny Lee Miller's American accent has gotten better over the course of the show.
Interesting. I wonder if that was the first time he had to do a prolonged American accent.
It wasn't awful at first, but it's a little weird. And then over the course of it, well, you know how it is. They shoot a pilot, and then
Right.
if it gets
And then
picked
8
up,
months later, they'll film
yeah,
the back 13 or whatever.
yeah. And I have to say, like, I am ultimately enjoying that. There's a running thing with George Michael's music in it. Spoiler alert for a 15-year-old show. But he's hallucinating. He starts hallucinating George Michael, like singing and like everybody joining in with it, and then it cuts to him dancing by himself and people looking at him concernedly, and it goes and every show is
Is this the
named
guy who can see dead people?
not quite.
Okay, there's some supernatural thing
No,
about it.
I don't think that's happened.
Okay.
And
Then I don't remember what the
yeah,
show was.
it goes on for a while, and every show is named after a Wham or George Michael song, so it's not that much of a surprise. But George Michael shows up in a couple of his visions or hallucinations, whatever you want to call them. And then in the like ninth episode we just watched, spoiler alert, George Michael shows up as a person in the show, and he takes a good like 60-90 seconds, like, yeah, like you're here. And George Michael's like, would you stop poking me? It was pretty funny.
It's like in the Spider-Man, all the Spider-Men are here. Look out. It's time to go home. When Andrew Garfield shows up. And
yes, exactly like that.
Yeah.
Exactly like that.
One of my problems with that movie and the Doctor Strange movie is they came out in the wrong order. If Doctor Strange 2 ends and he's done all this multiverse shit, and he's fucked with the dark dimension shit, and he gets that weird eye, and Charlize Theron shows up, and it's like, let's go do a Secret Wars.
Let's go play in CGI land.
Yeah, let's go to the Volume in Atlanta.
Hey, everybody.
So
See, that's why I liked the Ant-Man movies going back. They reminded me of what I liked so much about the
2000 Spider-Man movies?
No, the Hawkeye comic book.
Oh, yes.
Where
yes.
it's just a
It's
story.
a detour from all that shit.
It's a story. And they did nail some of the stuff from the comics. And by the way, if you like the Kit Bishop of it all, the comics that he continued doing, Fraction continued doing, where she's more of a factor, are quite good as well. And she has a separate series that's quite good. Although, again, I would take that buddy cop movie any day.
Yeah,
Kate
they're never going to
Bishop
do it.
and Elena? No, it won't happen.
They're never going to do it. That should be a special presentation. What you clinking and eating? What you clinking and eating?
Apologies. I'm having
Is it a soup?
If only. I'm having an adult beverage. I have my
With a spoon?
Oh, no, it has cherries in it.
Oh, okay.
It has frozen dark cherries in it. I like them for flavor and for stain.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're great.
You should wear something white just in case.
Just in case. Yeah, I managed to better bathe myself today and clean up my dome because it was getting unfortunate because, the
Ribgate.
the rib gate, yes, has improved a bit in that I was able to pick things up from the floor and not fall over and stay there. So,
Have you seen your the culprit, the perpetrator of said broken rib since
in person, no,
yeah.
we've spoken on the phone. She's a dear friend. And the Jolene's only going to lay into her a little bit, but she is a dear friend who wouldn't. There are plenty of people I'm sure who would be happy. I meant to send you an exchange from a friend of mine here. I posted it. It's like, who did that? Like, was it this guy? I'm like, no, it was Emma, who he knows. And he's like, ha, 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 ha. Sorry you got hurt. Like, I don't want to oversell it, but this is not like a teeny tiny person. Like, I think that'd be even funnier. But like Emma's my height, and like a strong person, lovely girl, but also like if you need somebody to carry some shit, she's your girl.
It's not Rosie Perez, just a tiny little whisper.
Is she tiny?
She's tiny, apparently. Yeah.
I guess because the personality's so big.
She's a very yes.
Yeah.
She's great in The Flight Attendant.
Why are you so stupid? That is my Rosie Perez. You're welcome.
Good job. Hold on.
I felt really good. Thank you.
Hold on.
I had a hat.
Hold on. Oh.
Yes, correct. Correct, sir. Yes. Yes. No, I have not seen that person in person. I know I will at some point. I haven't gone anywhere outside of like the grocery store or to pick up food or something. Like, I haven't gone out socially, which is where I would run into that person, because the idea of getting bumped into accidentally in a bar when you have a part of you that is broken, like an actual, not an emotional
Unbumpable.
break. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I go outside and mingle with people, and I'm completely broken. But this is this is like a physical.
I'm
hindrance.
talking about physical. Oh no,
right, exactly.
The emotional one. That's pretty much given.
Yeah,
but kind of the fear of like the whole birdcage just going down.
Yeah, Birdcage. We talked about it last time with Robin Williams and
sure.
And
Hank Azaria.
That's the one. I was gonna say John Turturro, because they kind of have a similar long features, sunken
Turturro,
eyes.
I think he is a criminally underrated actor. Like,
yeah,
really,
he's great. He was great in the Batman.
Great. He was in the Batman?
He was Falcone.
Right, he was great. I was so happy to see him in that, and yes, he was great. I don't know what I thought of the Kravitz in that.
I can take her, leave her. Usually, her stunt work in that movie. Let's put it this way. It's my favorite comic book thing I've seen her in.
Is that okay?
Because it's just that and X-Men First Class, and I like X-Men First Class, but
it's
I think
quite good. They almost saved the
X-Men universe.
MCU.
Then they hired the Sex Pest again, and ignored everything.
Pest. Don't you just go past Sex Pest?
He's a Sex Pest.
That's too good.
And it's like maybe underplaying his crimes.
Yes, very much so. And by the way, when you and I form a long distance duo musical act, Sex Pest.
Okay, may attract the wrong audience. We may get a bunch of men's rights activists and manosphere.
Sorry, wait.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Did I roll my eyes hard enough?
Hold on.
I may have sprained something.
Consider the lobster and the hierarchies of lobsters and wolves, and it is not okay that women... It's my Jordan Peterson impression. He doesn't think it's okay that women...
just...
he thinks it's bad. Spoiler alert, Jordan Peterson's a bit of a misogynist.
It is so strange because the bar is so low as a man, and the bar is so much lower as a middle-aged white man.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that I don't hit on women
means you're a fucking hero.
I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do.
Right. You're behaving like a normal fucking person and doing unto others as you blah, 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 blah. And that means that you are the exception to the rule.
It is so weird because I wouldn't call my dad like a nice person, but like I modeled a lot of that on him, and he wasn't shitty. He wasn't. I never saw him do any of that, and this was from a very different time, and like telling my kids like they're like, I mentioned something about getting hit as a kid, and they're like, Pop hit you? And I'm like, guys, Pop hit me like 3 times.
Yeah.
That counts. We're talking the 70s. That
Right.
counts as not getting hit.
That was currency.
That's
in
like
the
negative
70s.
6
Right.
times
They,
getting
they
hit.
They moved from the gold standard in the 70s to the hitting your children standard.
Yeah, I can remember the times. Like it was that
Michael
like,
Jackson style.
Yeah, exactly. Do you remember the time?
Yeah.
We
Which
fell
time?
in love.
Which time? Show me on the doll which time.
But it is very you realize how different the world is for the better for the most part. Like 94%
I think in a lot of ways,
better.
like as much shit as I give the current our current existence, no, I'd much rather be alive now than
Yeah. Oh, sure.
like 40 years ago, even, or like be my age that I am now
Yeah.
in the 90s. I don't want that. I don't want that. I like
No.
I crave the convenience. I've become accustomed to a certain lifestyle, so
Tell me,
maybe
excuse me, young man. Tell me your age again. So we can,
what's my age again?
yeah.
What's my age again?
Well, I get the reference.
It's a song from
know.
the
Blink-
90s.
Blink 182.
That's right.
I know. I enjoyed Damn It very much by them, so I was irritated when everything came out really clean, and I'm like, I don't like this at all. I liked Damn It. I liked that one song. So you're in your 30s, correct? Mid 30s?
I am currently. I'm
Yes.
approaching my mid 30s. Yes.
There you go. Well, yeah, when you posted that thing, it's like, that person and I are the only people under 50, and I'm like, hey, wait. Oh, shit. Yeah, right. Yeah, that just happened.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
Speaking of like things that with young people, Rob's Tuesday night open mic is proving to be like a thing with where I'm not the youngest person in the room anymore.
That eventually does happen. So that is not when one of your open mics is?
No, I
told me
moved.
when they
I
were.
moved mine.
When are they?
Well, we can get to that. We can talk about when mine are at the
in
end,
plugs?
as we always do.
In the plugs?
In the plug section.
The non-existent
In the
plugs?
plug bag. Shh, 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 shh. They need to stay at the end for their
Baby's
favorite part.
so
Plugs.
happy. Oh, I laughed about that for a while after we logged off last time. It's like, walking through the kitchen. What are you laughing at?
Ssnotwasscall.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. But the 90s had their moments. Like, again, I got out of high school in 1990, so it was, it had its moments. Like, there were kind of like, in some ways, the 70s were better. Not in a lot of ways, but in some ways. In some ways.
No AIDS.
No,
In the 70s.
AIDS.
No
But
crack
no,
epidemic.
there were
none of the
moments, and
Reagan
again,
stuff. None of the cool Reagan stuff.
No, I'm not even old enough. He didn't happen until 80. I'm not old enough to remember that, but a lot of the things, like a lot of the music that kind of fuels what I like, and like I'm not, like I'm technically a 90s kid, but really like the 70s are what
Would you
matter
say
to
you're
me.
a 90s bitch?
I didn't, but I would. I would say I'm much more of a 70s bitch.
That's also a reference to a song.
Is
I
it?
don't.
What song?
I don't.
God damn it, Mr. Sneezy, if I can't count on you to be able to footnote your references.
Achoo!
There's a moment, it's funny because I am a large fan of Who? Of The Who. Definite article.
Annie?
Yes. And watching Annie through the decades, like they had a moment, maybe 6 or 8 years, where they may have been the best band in the world. And then the one dude dies, and then they're still pretty good. But the singer is getting older, and male voices historically do not improve over time. There are female singers who are fantastic into their 50s, 60s, even 70s. Lena Horne sounded amazing. Ann Wilson from, am I getting the name right? Yes, Ann Wilson from Heart still sounds great. But male voices do not classically age well. So Daltrey's voice has been going down and getting less Daltrey. So there's a live version where of some concert, I think it was in the 80s or the 90s, where they did Quadrophenia, and there's a big high note, and they get to the big high note, and Daltrey doesn't even fuck around. It gets to the high note, and he just points to the backup singer, and he hits the high note.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
You got to know when to hold them.
Know when to fold
them. What if all I did was just quote songs?
If you
then it would be an
dropped in
episode
to
of
see
Freedom.
what position your position was in, or something. The fifth dimension. It's weird. If you look at that footage, it's so old. Kenny Rogers had brown hair. It's like seeing pictures from the 60s of Steve Martin with brown hair and a beard and dressed like a cowboy with a banjo, and he's almost distressingly hot. Yeah.
I've heard tell of this.
Those pictures
hot
are
Steve Martin.
Hot Steve Martin. Well, he was a writer on the fucking Smothers Brothers, which is kind of like, if Mel Brooks hadn't done anything else but write on your show of shows, like that. That's a pretty great, that's a pretty great place to be. That is my story.
What is this Smothers Brothers? I have heard of it, and I've been like, that rhymes. Ha 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 ha.
Are you unfamiliar?
Is it like a Doobie Brother?
No.
What is a Smothered Brother?
Are
is it
you-
like
are
the
you,
Bee Gees, which are also brothers?
They were the Brothers Gibb. Yes.
Yes.
I loved the turn the Bee Gees, the Brothers Gibb took, if you will, when they stopped having hits and they became
Started doing
chart
ballads?
poison. What's that?
And started doing like ballads and beautiful
No.
fucking love songs?
They became chart poison, so they started writing for other people, and they did great. They're a really gifted songwriting group. Islands in the Stream and a bunch of other things they did. There's a 90s concert of them, like a one night only, and they wrote I think they wrote stuff for Grease, and they wrote all manner. They wrote the theme song for Grease that I want to say, is it?
I just swore Barry Gibb died. It's Robin that died.
Yeah, and Morris too.
Okay.
And Andy died at like 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would have sworn Barry died, and then that was why it was a big deal when Robin died.
Barry's still with us. There's a great Bee Gees documentary on HBO Max if you swing back around to there at some point. And it's basically about him being the last Bee Gee. And it's sad, but it's also, great. They're another oddly criminally underrated group because people blame them for disco.
Disco was inevitable. It's like blaming Skrillex for EDM. It's like, yeah, you don't have to like his fucking music.
I don't know what those words mean.
I don't.
but
All the pop music now, why it's all wall of sound, synth, indecipherable garbage with, instruments buried under fuzz.
Sure.
It's because of like club culture.
Okay.
Like that's what drove pop music since.
Isn't that what always happens though?
Right, that's what always happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like the punk was big in the clubs in the 80s, and so that's why in the late 70s, and that's why it took off.
Disco was
king. Disco killed like my dad's music career because instead of hiring a band and paying them and putting them up, you could just hire someone to just bring records.
Which is weird because there's some great disco bands.
Still you'd think, like, okay, just get a disco band and then they can play covers or whatever. But no, people want to hear the shit that they know on the radio.
It's weird because there were some great, like, Kool and the Gang and a lot Earth, Wind and Fire and Chic and a lot of those. They're great bands that played in that. Like those Chic records are amazing. Nile Rodgers is an astounding, like, generational talent, and some people just can't get with him because he made records in that time. It's like you are really missing out on a big chunk of like music
Quincy
history.
Jones produced fucking disco, and he doesn't get that rap because he's been around for all of the waves of pop into the 90s.
Off the Wall is
Off
a
the Wall
disco
is the honestly part
is the quintessential.
It's a
album.
quintessential disco record, but
It's so good.
Off the Wall kind of heralds the end of the disco era, and I think it may be like the last great disco album.
Interesting.
it's
What's that? 78? Is it 78?
78 or 79. Yeah.
That's such a weird few years in music.
Yeah, they didn't. Music
77
didn't know
to
what it
like
was doing.
80. Yeah, it's all like fucking just pick a lane. Like nope. Like
So there's like the prog stuff.
Uh-huh.
Folk is still doing a thing. You
Still
got
doing a
your
thing.
disco.
Yeah, and
Heavy metal is starting to bubble up.
new
that
wave
kinda
of
hard
British
rock.
heavy metal.
Yeah.
And that's like 77, 78, 79, 80. In 1980 is when so many of the big hard rock and heavy metal records happened. Back in Black came out that year, and like
Fuck. What was was Black Sabbath still?
Black Sabbath was still a thing. I believe that's when Dio joined, and I want to say Heaven and Hell came out in 1980 as well, which is their first record with him, which is a great record, and it's one of those weird metal records where people would go on about it's so operatic, it takes stuff from this, and that's one of those records where there's like these swelling guitar parts in the background of things. It's like, oh, that's straight out like opera strings.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah. And Queen and David Bowie were doing stuff. They
Queen
were
is
like they were big dick swinging.
They
When did
only
Freddie
did
Mercury
the
die?
one record together. Which
Yeah.
seems like a shame. Although that record that it's on, it's called Hot Space, or as I call it, Hot Garbage. It's got two good songs. I love Queen. I'm the guy who bought The Miracle the day before it came out because I was working in a record store. And I would not call it a good record, but it has songs I love on it. You know how you love a band so much that you even love the bad music?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that's Queen for me.
Well,
Hell, I was listening to some of them today, like stuff from the 70s. It's weird. But again, like 70s music very much.
Yeah.
And there's a song by Kool and the Gang from, it says it's a live record. It doesn't sound live, but it's called the Funky Man. And at one point it just goes, "Watch out, it's the Funky Man. The Funky Man is coming. The Funky Man." But that voice from yes, exactly. But it's that voice from, the Jungle Boogie voice.
yeah.
That voice. I love weird ass 70s funk records where you can hear the fucking capes. Like, you don't need the pictures to see that everybody's wearing shiny capes and shit. And everybody's hair is this big.
Have you seen Walk Hard?
Yes, of course.
So there's when he goes through his like what's this is Pet
You
Sounds
don't want none of this, do we?
is Pet Sounds the one where that Brian Wilson never finished? Which one is
No.
the one that he didn't
No, Smile.
Smile
Is the one.
So it's basically like their take on that sort of, he's chasing the dragon of being the bleeding edge. And so he's got like a symphonic orchestra, but he's also got like indigenous African people in their tribal outfit, just there for vibes.
I haven't watched it in far too long.
They put
Hey,
on
Paul
the
McCartney.
on the extended version, they put a microphone to some titties. They record the sound of some tits, and it's just like that is
The extended version. I appreciate the work there. That's like have we talked about the Ben Stiller movie where he went all in? He did
right where he went full R word.
Yes. That's the one. What the hell is it called though? I can see it in my head.
Simple Jack.
No. The movie itself. That was his character in there.
Oh, Tropic Thunder.
Tropic Thunder.
Yeah.
Well, the have we already talked about this?
I don't know. Have
We've
we
done-
talked about how they get the blackface just right?
Yeah. We've done our of this sort of thing. So he has the whole bit where they're like, "God, don't you ever drop character?" And he goes, "I don't drop character till the DVD commentary."
And then, so I haven't listened to the DVD commentary,
I have.
but I have it
It's
on DVD,
wonderful.
and
It's great.
I'm
It's
inclined to
hilarious.
go do that.
It is well worth your time. And his thing in an interview, they're like, you couldn't make that now. He's like, well, you could.
You shouldn't, because A, it's already been made, and B,
Yeah.
they nailed it, so don't do it.
Yeah. I feel like it's been.
It's crazy that it's crazy that that's the
It's been.
the most offensive thing in that movie is not the blackface. It's Tom Cruise's Jewish stereotype
That one,
guy.
that one, I'm half offended at.
Yeah.
I'm half Jewish,
But like
so
that's the most not cool thing in the movie, I think.
although it was his idea. If you read like an oral history of that movie, he wanted to do like an agent, crazy agent character, and like the dancing thing. That was all his idea.
Yeah.
They were supposed to make a separate movie, a spin-off of that character, but not of Steve Coogan's character because, you know,
He blew up. Yeah. he done blowed up.
he done blowed up real good. Oh, that fucking movie though.
It's very good. It's
he went
very funny.
He went so hard in the paint.
Yeah.
And it was funny. And this is back like a year or two after that movie came out. And Joylene and I worked with this very nice but very conservative woman. And she's like, we're going to watch this movie. And I'm like, don't watch that movie.
Oh.
And she's like, is it not good? I said, no, it's fantastic. Don't watch it.
Yeah, you'll hate it.
And she's like, well, whatever. And she came in the next day and she's like, why do you people like that movie? I'm like, we told you,
warned
that you wouldn't like it.
Yeah. Some things are not for people. Like, I don't watch the 700 Club, and you probably watch the 700 Club.
You're
or the
going to keep
McLaughlin
trying,
group.
aren't you? Oh, you meant her. Okay. I was telling Joylene about that. It's like, every once in a while, Joseline's in on something. It's like, look, I know what I look like, but that's not...
It's like, yeah, it's like I just watched Judas and the Black Messiah, and you'd
how
love
was that?
You'd love the ending because they kill Fred Hampton in his sleep.
Why would I love that?
See, that's because you're a white supremacist. That's the joke. It is a great movie that I'm never gonna see again. Yeah, it's one of those where
There's
it's just
a
like,
lot of those.
fuck.
I am on the continuum. I am way too Jewy for those people to want me to have anything to do with them.
No. You're not until you are. You know what I mean? Like once they've exterminated all of the real undesirables that you can't really, that you can obviously pick out of a lineup, like you got your blacks and your, whatever sort of Latinx and the Asians, they're usually saved for later just because they're a pliant people.
How big a number are we talking?
I'm thinking of having a shirt made, but then, but then I feel like it would again attract the wrong crowd.
Yes.
It would attract
you mean people
the
who don't
Steven
understand
Crowder
satire?
types, the Jordan Peterson fan, if you will. It is not. That is a big number. It is not small, and the hierarchies of numbers, and the Little Mermaid. He'll just cry. He'll just start crying. He'll just start crying.
Not very manly.
I mean, it's one thing to.
Yeah, I remember a fairly long time ago. I'm going to say 12, 15 years, something like that. We were, the missus and I were sitting at dinner with some friends, and something came up about being able to talk to women. And they were marveling at the fact that that I could talk to women. I mean, and I said, you mean like women are people?
Yeah, you just talk to them.
Yeah.
You don't have to be like trying to chat them up.
No. It was just weird. And I'm not, like, my awkwardness is consistent through, those things. I think I grew the beard in large part to hide. Like I could half hide even in public. Like it's very useful.
Why do you think I do any of this? It's so that people are distracted from all of
nice?
the real
I don't know.
the stuff.
See,
no,
I thought you just enjoyed
pockets. Honestly, that's the actual reason
so
I
useful.
I
I
have a
actually-
pocket here. There's a
There you
little
go.
pocket that goes in there, and I just
Sure you
put
do.
a bunch of stuff in
Yeah.
it.
I normally like
Hold on,
I
hold on,
don't
hold on.
leave I don't leave the house without a collared shirt because I feel better in the whole.
Yeah. It's like an
things.
armor sort of Iron
sure.
Man sort of deal, a suit of armor around the world.
And it's also nice to look nice.
I like it because I don't really have to think about what I wear. Honestly, I'm wearing a pant. The pant is usually the same. I'll wear a vest, and seasonally that'll change. But for the winter, I rock this kind of thick guy. And then it's just a matter of a shirt and tie because I wear, the same shoes and the same belt. And...
I like a shirt and tie. The only problem is me in a shirt and tie is almost too easy. Like I put a suit on every once in a while for something. They're like, you look good. I'm like, I'm a middle-aged white guy. What do we do if not wear suits?
Yeah.
It's like, of course I'm gonna look okay in a suit.
But they're built for that.
Yeah.
Like
The
they're
only problem is-
designed to aesthetically be to frame the male body in a way that is, flattering.
Although I'm wee, even with weight gain, I'm still not a large person. So British cut suits work better. I'm a big fan of those.
I like them.
Yeah.
The skinny ones.
Yeah, I had when I was one of those people. Those people.
What do you mean those people?
People who metabolize carbohydrates better than older people do?
Black people? That's not a stereotype I've heard, but I'll take it.
Pardon me for not seeing color when it comes to carbohydrate.
Just make up like
trying.
weird stereotypes. Like, did you know that all Asian people are allergic to watermelon? It's like, no. How did that come up? You do a survey anyway.
You just keep digging, buddy.
I'll get there to China one day.
Yes, when I was a younger, thinner man, I had a couple of suits that I liked quite a bit, and they looked good, because again, I'm not a tall, broad-shouldered person. All that, Kennedy is to blame for all of that. The American suits getting, big lined because he was built like that. Yeah, that's all Kennedy.
Is that the last time that because he also was the first president to not wear a hat, and then hats went by the wayside.
Interesting. Yeah, I
mean, like presidents would dictate, like like how kings would in ye olde times would dictate fashion.
Getting away from any of the many sordid, horrible.
Wait, what do you have
things.
to hide about Kennedy?
Nothing.
Where were you on November
right
22nd, 1963?
Not born yet.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Watch yourself, counselor.
9 years to go. But getting away from all of that, both he and Jackie O set a lot of fashion things just by their very existence.
Yeah.
Because they were, a young, attractive couple in the White House for the first time ever.
She was too hot for him.
Well, yeah.
But that's just men.
Yeah. There's all kinds of horrible things with them. But I will say, like, they set all kinds of fashion things. And yeah, his big thing was, I want to say that...
His big thing was getting shot in the head.
Well, yeah. Well, he couldn't bend down because he had a brace on for his back.
His back was so fucked. Dana Gould once said, when in the Dana Gould hour, like how he would do like little history bits in between stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And he one time he was talking about Kennedy and he's like, this was like long since his back had just become popcorn. That's how he described it. No, but like so many presidents have so many
information from Dana Gould.
Yeah, they have so many health problems. It's so crazy.
I'm
it's
sorry.
Like,
the Dana Gould hour, free and worth it.
We're cool if you're cool.
Bevilacqua.
Bevilacqua Heating and Plumbing or something like that.
I almost ordered that T-shirt.
The T-shirt? Yeah. No, order my It's a Big Number T-shirt. And then on the back it'll say, just like, objectively, it's a big number. I don't know. I'll have to work on how to phrase it.
You keep digging. Hey,
I'll get there one day.
I think you're doing great.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Hey,
I feel good about this.
I'm happy whenever
I'm Mr. Sneezy. It's hard not to do when you have sunglasses on.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, it's different when you do it. It just looks like you're having trouble.
What do you mean
seeing.
it's different when I do it? What's
White
different about
people.
it? Oh, okay, cool. Just so we're on the same page.
I've started watching. I have a couple weeks left in my Paramount Plus subscription, and I've watched all the Star Trek I'm gonna watch. I watched the first episode of season 4 of Star Trek Discovery, and I couldn't do it anymore. I was like, there's too much good Star Trek on here for me to watch this garbage.
What's the new one that's at the one with
Strange
Pike?
New Worlds. It's
Is that the one with
fucking
Pike?
great. Yes,
Is that the
it's
cartoon,
really
or is that
good.
the one with Pike?
No, that's the one with Pike. Although Lower Decks is the cartoon, and those are the two that I watched. I just
I've
railed
heard
all
Lower
of it.
Decks is
Lower
very
Decks is
entertaining.
some of the best Star Trek until Strange New Worlds. Lower Decks was the best Star Trek that had come out since maybe the first JJ, or maybe Star Trek Beyond, because that was fucking fun.
Missus is more one of you people. And by
Black?
you people, I mean Star Trek fans.
Oh, I'm dipping my toe into the Trek. I've historically been more of a Wars person,
Same.
but I've kind of grown stale on Star Wars, except for Andor, which is like
I've
one of
heard
the best
such good
television
things,
shows.
Not just from you. I've heard.
Yeah, no, it's one of the best television shows to come out in the past couple years. Not even genre. It's just like a good fucking show.
That is exactly what I've heard.
Yeah.
I just haven't been in the headspace.
No, and you have to be ready. It's a fucking drag. Like the middle of the season is. I'm not saying it drags pacing wise.
No,
the pacing is excellent. It's just like yeah, it really pulls you in.
You gotta
and
be there. Oh, I'm sorry, but before I forget, I watched 3 odd. How do you feel about Kevin Smith?
I like some of the stuff I've seen. I never feel compelled to, like, I'm not really excited about Clerks 3, but apparently it looks
I am a
good.
huge fan of him in that I've listened to hundreds of hours of his podcasts, and I love like 3 of his movies. Oddly, one of them, not Clerks. I like Clerks fine. I accept it for what it is. One of my first dates with the missus involved falling asleep in a midnight showing of it. Like I have warm feelings about the movie. But like my favorite, like Chasing Amy is my favorite movie he did. And then like I loved Mallrats. I saw Mallrats in the theater. I'm one of the 3. And,
Is that his first one?
No, second one. Clerks, Mallrats. Clerks was a huge hit. Hit.
It was an indie hit. Cult hit, yeah.
Critics' darling, and then he got a major label deal, basically.
With Miramax?
Yeah. I feel like something happened there, but different story.
That's later. That's like 20 years later.
But
yeah. I mean, I'm
Mallrats-
sure it was happening
Oh,
at
it
the
was
time.
happening, yeah. But Mallrats was like, Clerks was the indie record he made that made them hear him, and Mallrats was the major label deal. And the second record tanked, and he lost all the goodwill, and then he made Chasing Amy, which is my favorite movie by him. It's really, really good.
Is that the first one where him and Ben Affleck hook it up?
Yeah, no, Affleck shows up in Mallrats in a smaller part, but he is one of the stars of Chasing Amy, which is very much worth your time. I should warn you, there are black people in it.
Pass.
Okay, fair enough.
Hard pass.
There's a real nice turn with one of the characters in there, but Chasing Amy, it has some problematic things for when it came out to now, but how many things
90s.
age well? Yeah, exactly.
Right. Like I watched Top Gun recently, like I talked about.
The first
very
one?
80s.
Yes.
Like a lot of the things that happen in it are very, very. You can't do that today.
Can't do
you
that
know
on
what?
television.
I need to make that a banner. You can't say anything anymore.
You can't say it. You can say whatever you want.
You can
That never
say whatever
changes.
you want. It's just
Yeah.
now people are okay with expressing that they don't like when you say
Yeah,
a fucking thing.
Exactly. Don't say that. I'm
Yeah.
sorry you feel that.
You
And the
can
answer
say
is-
it. Again, you can't. It's like Robert Downey Jr. said. You can make that.
The answer remains the same. You can say whatever you want.
Yeah. Free speech
and
is still a thing,
people
man.
can respond. There's like comedians being put down because people didn't like what they said and said so. It's like, no, they have the same right to free speech as you do.
I don't owe you laughs.
No, I owe you nothing.
Right.
As an
at the
audience, I owe you nothing.
most, I owe you a clap when you're walking on and off
Sure.
stage. But even then, I don't owe you that shit. Earn my shit.
Yeah. Nah, just give it over. Well, I know you said you were kind of done with stand-up. It's such a weird, ephemeral art form, and it is an art form. Like it matters to me. In some ways, comedy matters more to me than music. But I can totally see when you're like, I'm not feeling this right now.
Yeah,
'Cause
and
it's
I'll probably dip back in. I watched
Yeah,
a special. Gareth Reynolds of The Dollop
Yes.
has a special that he put out on YouTube.
Oh, how is it?
It's pretty good. It's good. He's a very funny. He's got it in his bones, like a Dave
Okay.
Chappelle sort of Louis C.K. Except we can talk about him.
Todd Glass.
Todd Glass, yes. Pete Holmes for a time before
so funny.
before his show, I think.
Yeah,
And
well,
then once
he's
he
gotten-
got the
he's
not the
gotten
not the
fu-
talk show. The talk show was fantastic.
Yeah.
But before Crashing.
Crashing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got to a place where
And then he got married and had a kid, and that changes.
Well,
Yeah.
people. Yeah, don't do that. Certainly don't have
Oh no,
two.
don't worry. I'm that's not a possibility.
Well, yeah. But the weird thing with him, and I was a huge fan of that podcast for years and years and years, but since he's gotten, he feels as though he is enlightened. And,
Yep. And so he's trying to guru shit. He's basically Joe Rogan, but like not problematic.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same vibes. It's a very.
It's so weird. The Rogan thing is so weird because
Who would have thought? Who would have thought 20 years ago, like Joe Rogan would be one of the key political figures?
It's so
like
weird.
what? And like, think
it's
what you
weird 'cause-
will, he is a political figure. The power he wields.
The problem is not being willing to accept that your platform has elevated so much that you do have an effect by what you say.
And you have a responsibility.
You have a
And
responsibility.
you can't platform people like fucking Milo Yiannopoulos.
Yeah, well, that hasn't happened in a while.
No, but I mean, he'll have a Steven Crowder or a Jordan Peterson on, or a Ben Shapiro, and like these people. I mean, I don't know.
What do you mean
it's
by
a free
these
fucking.
people?
Depending on what day of the week, I guess the Jews, because Ben Shapiro is sometimes Jewish, sometimes he's Catholic, sometimes.
Is that right? I
I think he converted to Catholicism, but he
I
still wears the
haven't-
yarmulke.
Sure. I haven't been
Normal.
able to like listen, like it'll come up and I told you, like occasionally I'll listen to an episode because somebody I like is on there, and I'll just wait for him to bring up something about COVID.
Right.
And the last time it was 9 minutes in and I just turned it off. I'm like, I don't need to hear this again.
And I think, unlike a Ben Shapiro or a Jordan Peterson, he is like genuinely. I don't think he's lying. I just think that he is like uncritically curious. So like he's curious for curiosity's sake.
I think the problem with him remains the platform thing.
Yeah.
He
It's too
can't
big a
accept-
platform for him to do the same shit
Yeah.
he does
When you get
and
to that
act like it
point-
doesn't have an effect on people.
Yeah, exactly. When you get to that point, pretending
Spider-Man,
like,
baby.
Yeah, exactly. Great webbing and
With great
shit.
with great webbing comes great tits.
And it used to exactly. 'Cause, honestly, it used to be fun to listen to him and his comedian friends get high and talk
Yeah.
about stupid shit.
yeah.
And I will admit to like enjoying that, because what's wrong with that?
He's
Like,
not a bad. And we've talked about this, I think,
Yeah.
last week with the conversation about stand up, where it's like
Mm-hmm.
I feel the same way about talk shows where people will be a good interview and it'll be like situationally, like if they're friends with someone.
Sure.
That, like Colbert is the example I think I use, where like
think
Colbert or if Seth Meyers has any of his old SNL buddies on, that interview is very much more interesting, I think, than someone who's just coming on to promote a fucking movie.
Well,
And
sure.
and
Yeah,
so
but that's
and so
usually
like
the case.
and with and most podcasts, I feel the same way.
Well, when he used to have Fitzsimmons on, he doesn't have
Grapefruit
him on as
Simmons?
much. Yes, exactly.
Grapefruit Simmons.
I kind of wanted the shirt. I'm not gonna lie.
That's a shirt. That's a good shirt.
Yeah, that's a real good shirt. But like when he used to have him on, And they'd have these long discursive talks. And like one time, I think I mentioned it. They're like, because they both got hit when they were kids. And they were talking about, and these are people who've known each other half their adult lives, who started in an impossible field to get ahead in. Comedy is just so weird.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
so unlikely.
I wonder if they started during the boom. Like, I know Paul F. Tompkins and Todd Glass and all of them, like,
They
started
said the
back
dates,
then.
and I can't remember, but they started comedy within a week of each other. They used to drive together. They used to, before they had enough time for the amount of time they were being paid for, they'd steal each other's jokes. Like they'd call each other, said, "So you know, I'm using like this, and at the show," and they're like, "I don't give a shit," and but like stories like that. But they were like talking about like when they were kids and being parents, and they're like talking about how they got hit and how they never hit their kids, and they were like, corporal punishment works, but it ruins you. Like they dropped that like an hour and a half into a podcast, and I had to like stop the podcast for a while.
Yeah.
And there were every once in a while something like that would come up, and it was just people talking. Like Bert Kreischer, who was talking about like his whole thing is he was the party animal in college, the machine, all that shit. But like hearing him talk, and another weird thing is we're the same age. So hearing him talk about he's my age. We're both 703. But
Today.
He was talking about, and like somebody's talking to him about, yeah, when you were doing all this shit and you were going to bars, what were you doing? And he's like, man, I was looking for somebody to love me. And I was like, that hit too hard. Like being 19, it's like, a certain mindset. Like you're not looking to just hook up. Like,
Right, you're looking for acceptance and like, just camaraderie or yeah.
Yeah, and something. You're looking
something.
for
You're looking for something. You're looking for something. Helicopter.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. But like things like that, like that's the stuff that podcasts are invaluable for. Like there was a weird podcast like called Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll, where they have people on, and it's kind of a bullshitty kind of like, hey, and then what did you do? And they had Will Wheaton on, and they're talking to him about different things, and they have like a guest comedian on who you think is going to come in with the jabs and everything. And Wheaton was talking about his upbringing and his abusive upbringing and how he like kind of triumphed over it, and he's kind of trying to tell people out there, it's like, if you're going through these kind of things, like you can just know that there are people who care, and you will find people. It was basically the abuse version of It Gets Better. And the host goes, the comedian, I think you've got something to say. You've been champing at the bit. Why don't you jump in? And he comes in, and the guy, you hear it. I wasn't watching the video, but you can hear he is shaken by this. He's like, I just want to thank you so much for talking about that. Like he's barely holding back tears talking about it. And it was genuinely powerful. It was obviously unplanned, and it was amazing. And it was really something. And those are the things that hit me. Like I love a good joke, but when somebody out of nowhere just hits you with something like that, it's too easy to joke about. Like, oh, sorry, I dropped that truth bomb. But when somebody like really hits you, like the corporal punishment thing, or Kreischer talking about that, or Will Wheaton using his notoriety, let's say, to really talk about those kinds of things.
That is a responsible way to use a fucking platform. And all of these podcasts combined don't have the numbers that Joe Rogan apparently has. But I mean, just
I mean it. I think it is unrealistic to expect someone who has gone a certain way for a certain amount of time.
Oh yeah, and had that lifestyle or whatever, not only validated but like rewarded financially.
Well, the weird thing is, he wasn't like that a long time ago, and then he got in to weed, and it opened his mind, which I have heard it does.
It'll do that.
It didn't do anything for me. Made me giggle.
Are you like a paranoid pot smoker?
No, not at all.
Did it just not do anything?
No, not really.
Huh.
I was a little giggly, but I don't even know if that's what made me giggly. The person who I saw before my missus, was a few years older than me.
Nice.
I was like 24 and she was 30 or 31, and she would get, nobody's watching this, right? No. She would get weed from her ex, and let's say he didn't want to end things, but she would get weed from her ex, and I had that a few times, and that was fine, but not really my thing. I wasn't into substances really at all until I moved here, and unless you consider like booze a substance, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I think
but
so.
it's not. I could never do weed because I was never a smoker. I don't like pulling burning shit into my lungs.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's all about the vape life now.
Hashtag vape life.
Hashtag vape life.
Hashtag vape life.
Well,
Yeah. I
gotta
won't.
make a banner
I
for
won't go
that.
further. Hashtag vape life. I won't go further into that because that's not the kind of story to share on this kind of platform.
No. Put them on blast.
I don't wanna. I don't have any hard feelings against that person. I don't want it. Don't want it.
I don't want. Ssnotwasscall. I don't want.
Don't want it. To quote one of my children when they were small, don't want it. Don't want it. Oh, good. There's another Ant-Man and the Wasp thing.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
Hashtag vape life. Oh, man.
Yes?
Yeah.
So when are your open mics?
Are you giving me the signal to wrap it up?
I wasn't, but that's very funny. No, I was just curious.
Wednesdays and Thursdays. On Flower Avenue.
Wednesdays and Thursdays.
Wednesdays, Thursdays, Flower Avenue.
So you can still do the Tuesday.
Yeah. I'm featuring on a week from this coming Tuesday.
Again?
What do you mean?
Didn't you feature before?
Oh.
When was it a different location?
I featured at the Spring.
Yeah.
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 Uh-huh.
Yeah. That's what I thought. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where are you with? So do you listen to comedy podcasts still?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
that's primarily what I listen to. I split my
same.
time
Same.
between comedy stuff and newsy stuff. So I don't have to watch the news or read it too much.
Comedy stuff and some music stuff. I don't do any news podcasts. But I do comedy podcasts that are adjacent to people, let's say, I don't want to hear. How often do you find yourself skipping an episode of one of your comedy podcasts?
So I've kind of cut back on listening to the ones that would have certain people that I wouldn't want to listen to.
Interesting.
Like, I know you're not a Scott Ocker fan.
No.
But Comedy Bang Bang has
I will say he
pretty
doesn't seem like a
consistently
bad
good
guy.
good guests. Huh?
Yeah. He doesn't seem like a bad guy.
No.
He
He's
just doesn't.
by all accounts he seems cool.
I'm not amused.
Yeah, I mean, his bit is being a bad interviewer, and
He's really good
really
at being
nails
a
that.
bad interviewer.
And it's really funny. I mean, it's just, and I don't know when you listen. I guess you listened to it in its early days,
Comedy
and then maybe
Death Ray.
Yeah, and then maybe you've popped back in a couple times. As they like to say on the show, it's good now. They'll say that like 4 or 5 years ago. They're like,
It's weird.
hey, you can listen. Tell your friends to listen. It's good now.
Is that one where they've had some borderline guests?
No, I mean, just some aren't very interesting, or they're promoting a project that I don't give a fuck about.
There's
And there'll be like some older comedians that aren't very fun, that aren't the comedic caliber of a regular Comedy Bang Bang guest, which
Well,
is
they're
a
also a
pretty
lot of
high bar
older,
because they're also
yeah,
improvisers.
and a lot of older comedians don't understand podcasts.
No,
They get
no, like
very
like
confused.
Kevin Nealon has been on a few times, and that's I'll skip just because
Yeah,
like I understand he's like
sure,
comedy royalty or whatever, but
whatever
like
you
I don't.
say,
But
guys.
like
But
he's had David Spade on. David Spade is very
Spade's great.
playful. I would
His
love to
podcast,
hear Martin Short on Comedy Bang Bang.
he is like really, he's still got it. Like
He's
whatever
so
he
quick.
had,
Yeah, it's
his
it.
his episode of SNL with Steve Martin was pretty entertaining.
I
Which
can't
is
watch
the
SNL.
I understand.
Yeah, I
Like,
may
I'm
go
not.
back and watch that.
Don't. I mean,
I probably won't though.
there are moments that are so great every once in a while, but now you'll hear about it and you can just watch it on YouTube.
Right.
But there's something about it's kind of the equivalent of there's this one great song on this album, but that song isn't going to seem as great if you don't listen to it in the context of the album. And if you don't want to take the time, I don't blame you. Do you know what I mean?
I completely
Yeah.
understand.
Like
I think,
Aubrey Plaza was on, I believe, last night.
yeah.
And I'd watch it, except Parks and Rec means nothing to me. Like I haven't watched it.
Yeah, I mean,
I tried and I couldn't get
like
into it.
her deal.
She's great.
I've known about her. She
Yeah.
did this movie Mystery Team, which was Donald Glover used to have a sketch comedy group. They were kind of
Wait.
like in tandem with the Lonely Island. They were
Is
called
that like Mystery
Derek
Man?
Comedy.
With
No, it's not like Mystery Man with Ben Stiller and Kel Mitchell and
and Jane
Alan
Ann
Cumming
Garofalo.
and
Which
Janine Garofalo.
Janine
and
Garofalo
Hank
is-
Azaria.
Yes, that's true. Doing a weird.
They
a
were all doing weird
Persian
stuff.
accent.
And Pee Wee Herman's in it.
entertaining.
He's the spleen. He farts.
He is. Although it was pretty great, though. Janine Garofalo's character had a bowling ball that I believe had the soul
skull
of
in
her
it.
father in it.
Oh.
Yeah. It's weird though because that point has been made that Aubrey Plaza is this generation's Janine Garofalo.
Yeah, she's basically Daria.
Although
She's doing Daria.
she's so Daria. I love Daria. I have the complete series over there and a Funko Pop that I got for the missus because she is very Daria. She's very Janine. When we met, that was one of the things. It's like you have dark hair and you're pale and you're very sarcastic and deadpan. Yes, please, and thank you.
I used to get her and Linda Cardellini confused.
You used to get Joylene and Linda Cardellini
Yep.
confused? Oh.
Yep.
Had no idea.
And it's weird because like I've never met your wife. Your
true.
wife.
It was weird to me when you when weird but nice but weird again when you were doing John Patton's matinee thing, which I enjoyed very much, by the way. It was nice to see you in a room with somebody playing music. But when you mentioned us and then he mentioned Joylene by name, like I didn't know John knew who she was, and I mentioned that to her, and she's like, I didn't know John knew who I was. Like I don't know how I feel about that.
He knows who you are.
I know. I don't. He's another one of those people that I was probably in a room with him at some point.
Probably. If you
bound
went
to
to
have
T-Volve,
happened.
he was
Yeah.
a T-Volve boy.
It's bound to have happened, but I don't remember it. Just like you and I were probably in a room together at some point. But again, I feel like if you had had a left-handed guitar, I would have
would've
noticed
come
it,
up.
said something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because normally, like, I don't do that, but like anybody left-handed, anybody I've ever met, we're just like, here, try this. Because we don't run across our
Yeah.
kind very often.
Now, I do like not being able to / not having to share my guitar with anyone.
That is
Because people
wonderful.
break things
Yeah.
and make them sticky or wet. And
Yeah,
I do not like that.
I enjoy that very much, with the exception of if I run into another left-handed person, I will give them every guitar I have. Here you go. It's so rare.
It is rare.
And one of the lefties in Erie moved away, and I'm still bitter about it, and I still give him shit. But there's a few of us here. I have a few left-handed friends, and I'm like, if it makes you feel better, it looks weird to me too. It always has.
You know what's a good podcast that that is it kind of threads that needle between super jokey, dumb bits and very heartfelt. Getting closer, my boy. Come closer. Yes. Have you heard the tale of Harmontown?
Oh, that's I listened to it some. I
Did you see the movie?
enjoyed the documentary
Yeah.
very much.
Yeah. Yeah. Movie's
The
good.
the guy who hosts it was very entertaining. The fella in the suit.
Oh yeah, Jeff Davis. Yeah.
I haven't
No,
watched
no
it in a
relation
long time. To
to the president of the Confederacy, Jefferson Davis.
I thought no, see, I thought you were gonna the Garfield guy.
What is his Jim Davis?
Jim Davis is
Yeah,
correct.
yes.
My 10-year-old is obsessed with comic strips and animation. So
With
he-
like doing them?
yes,
Oh, nice, nice.
he cartoons all the time. He fills up sketchbooks. It's glorious to see that kind of creativity grab someone that young. And I said, "You're ahead of the game." He's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "You have something." He's like, "What?" I'm like, "You have a means. You have a means of expression. You have something to grab onto to get you through what's going to be a very hard time classically, but at least you have something that matters to you." And a lot of kids don't have that, and it makes it really fucking hard. You know, he's 10 and it's coming right along, and he's like learning about animation and learning about comics and just learning about all this stuff, and he's just a sponge for it. And there are two different things that happen with your kids with information. One kind is they'll tell you something you already know, and you're just impressed that they know a thing, like, "Oh, you know about that, that's great." And then there's the other kind. He hit me the other day because he was obsessed about the idea of intelligence and measuring it. And he's like, and he couldn't get his head around like that an IQ test could be wrong. I'm like, well, they're just those people testing something on those day for those things, and it's testing for that. And he came back to me another time. It's like, well, IQ isn't really a good measurement of intelligence. I said, I agree. He said, yeah, a better measure is the 6 types of cognition. I'm like,
What?
and I just started laughing and said that to him. And then he explained the 6 types of cognition to me. I don't remember them, so don't ask. But they were explained to me by a 10-year-old, and well. And I was like, yeah, exactly. You learn something new every day, and then you forget. But I'm like, every once in a while, I'll hear something like that. I'm like, okay, I think you're going to be all right. Like, for all the shit,
Yeah,
I think
man.
you're going to be all right.
I mean, like I have a lot of I can see. I mean, and I'm not pulling a Ray Charles right now. I can see. So I see what's happening in the world and where we're going and how nothing's really being done to alleviate certain things, and I worry a lot about the youth of today. The Utes, as my guy from my favorite legal movie,
Fred Gwynn.
would say. Marissa Tomei, though,
I've never seen the movie.
it's funny.
It's
Good. It's a good time. It's a good time. Ralph Macchio's in it. He doesn't do any karate, but you know,
That's right.
It's
And
all right, it's all right.
Pesci, right?
Cobra Kai. Yeah, Pesci.
Pesci.
Pesci, Tomei, Macchio, and then
Gwynn.
somebody else, some character actor. Who,
Fred Gwynn. Fred Gwynn.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Fred Gwynn. Fred. He
Fred
played the
Gwynn?
Judge. Fred Gwynn.
Oh, that Fred Gwynn. Anyway, so seeing the things that I see and paying attention to the world that I am forced to live in, I have worry about the Utes,
Understandable.
dim Utes. But then I see things like that, or I'll see those young people who show up to Rob's open mic, and they're
Sure.
like, you know, they're like high school people, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And they're just, there's hope, but also then you see, you know, I don't know, the manosphere shit where all these kids are watching people like, and I hope you haven't heard of these people, like Fresh and Fit or Kevin Samuels or a Jordan Peterson, who because there's so little infrastructure socially in this country, I think, to tell people that they belong, to have a sense of community. So they have to seek it out, and they seek out, like what Pete Holmes, I think, did, and like what Joe Rogan, I think, does. They seek out gurus and
Sure.
people to tell them how to live. And the people they usually end up finding are reactionary right-wing assholes who tell them that this minority group or this disenfranchised group is the problem with is the reason for all of their problems.
Yeah, they Hitler 'em.
They Hitler them. Yeah, it's fascism. I mean, it's fascism.
It is. It's quiet fascism.
Yeah, so they lure them in with, hey, I see that you have problems. Hey buddy, come on down. You want your problem solved? Come look. Hey, I know you're disenfranchised. You can't find a job. Can't get a girl. You can't bring yourself to care about school or whatever.
They offer
Come on down.
easy
I'll tell you what the
answers.
problem is.
Yeah.
Women.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it was that simple the whole time. Wow, it's crazy that no one just came to that conclusion
Nobody
on
thought
their
of
own.
that this
Yeah.
whole time. Yeah.
Yeah. So you see, it's 6 and 1/2 dozen of the other. So I'd say it's a toss up.
It's all. But everyone, I'll be honest. I like to think that if you choose to bring people into the world, it is ultimately an act of optimism, blind optimism perhaps, but optimism nonetheless. And they're like my favorite humans, even though I want to kill them sometimes.
Oh,
but
yeah.
but I feel like the world's better for having them in it. I don't think a lot of people feel that way about theirs, which is a goddamn shame.
Yeah.
And it's scary, because there are a lot of people who are here and didn't have any say in the matter and don't want to be here, and
Yeah.
they just want to fucking burn it down, for whatever reason, and it's scary.
Yeah.
So whenever I see somebody who is trying to add as opposed to subtract, I'm like, well, there's some reason for hope. And I would not call myself a hopeful person by any stretch of the imagination.
Don't be gross.
Yeah. I am more of a laughing nihilist than anything. Yeah. Like, shit's burning.
I'm the Joker.
Let's have a barbecue. Not even that. It's like, I'm not burning it down. It's already burning. I don't, one little man isn't going to do that.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, we still got to laugh through that shit and,
Yeah.
Try not to make things demonstrably worse. And if you can make them in some small way better, that is a net gain. Like, it's not a big gain, but it's a gain is a gain. A win is a win. But that's, that shit's hard, and all these things are happening in real time for them. All of our perspective means nothing. And that's why I don't talk down to younger people, because they're as old as they've ever been and they're living it in real time. Whether you're 10 or you're 30, you're like, this shit's still happening. Like, you can see other people's versions of it, but it's still fucking happening to you, a net gain. Thanks for getting me off of that rant train.
No,
Much appreciated.
It's good.
No, it's not. But it's true. And also 50's fucking weird. It does weird things to your head.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same. I feel that some people experience age the way most people experience wealth. So the further you get, the more money you get, the further divorced from society and regular, shit, day-to-day needs. Your hierarchy of needs changes. And there's an Overton window, other terms. But
You
I feel
Maslow it up, sure.
Maslow, baby. I feel that that some people age the same way, and the further away they, and obviously because that's how time fucking works, but the further away you get from having experienced these things, which are a lot of them are universal. I mean, there's a reason why boy bands shit is always the same subject matter,
And
and
it hits,
teen
like,
girls fucking love it.
every 10 to 15 years.
Exactly.
There's some slightly more androgynous version of it,
Right.
which I'm sure
We've
really
exported it
scares
now.
older parents.
Yeah, no.
About that. It's like, why do they like them?
Why
You're not
are
ready
BTS
for that.
so pretty?
You're not ready for that conversation. You're just not. You're
Yeah.
just not ready for that conversation. That's like the whole thing of like, and again, as soon as you think that you are enlightened and aware, something will come along.
Now
and you'll
that's
go, "Wait,
something I
what
do
now?"
like about Age of Ultron is
Yeah.
James Spader's talking about like there's always a cataclysmic event,
Yeah.
as soon as you just start to get comfortable, and as soon as the dust settles, God throws a meteor at you.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's like that's it. That's it. You don't have to believe in a monotheistic God. The
No,
universe
not at
is
all.
what I'm talking about.
Well, I have
every
yeah.
time I get comfortable, some fucking shit happens.
Yeah.
Every
but then
fucking time.
something will happen, like there'll be there's a couple of bands, the Beths, and there's another one, Sunflower
We've talked
Bean.
about the Beths.
Yeah. And also there's a younger band called Sunflower Bean. And their record, we were listening to it, and it sounds more, it's hard to describe it, but I called it more three-dimensional. Like they're a rock band, but there's more going on. And there's just, they're a trio, but the sound, there's just more there. And the Beths and they made me feel much more optimistic about the future of rock bands. Sunflower Bean, well worth your time, well worth a listen. New York City band. Irritating.
New York City.
New York City. Irritating still, even now, how many good bands come out of there. But, it's a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
And shit comes up.
It's
That's
where
a weird
the,
thing.
the
Like,
stuff is.
everything's
So you go to where
better
the
here.
stuff is.
It's like, yeah, because there's more people.
There's
there.
more stuff.
And there's the supply, yeah.
Right, yeah.
And it's like all
Plus,
this
it's an
food
industry
is
town.
better there. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because it's
like,
where
sure.
people go to do the stuff. The best people
Yeah.
in the world
Sure.
go there to do
Yeah,
the
yeah.
things they do.
Well, that's like going to like Pittsburgh from where I am. It's like, oh yeah, there's a lot more really good food and art and culture and music, because there's more people.
More people, right?
Yeah, and that's very simple. That's not like our place is better. It's like your place is more.
It's greater.
Yeah,
It's
your
not
place
better.
is more.
It's greater. That's why.
It's
So
more.
I maintain, and I say it often whenever it comes up, which is 2 or 3 times a year. That hey man, it's a big number relative to 0. It's infinitely more than 0.
Sarah. Yeah.
I think New York is the greatest city in the world. Is it the best city? Well, that's, subjective. Is it my favorite? No. There's trash all over the place, and it
Yeah.
smells bad, and the summers are intolerable.
I
And
was,
so are the fucking winters. It's
yeah.
madness. It's madness.
I was
it's
amazed
a crazy
at the
hellscape.
difference. Well, who knows what would have happened if the world hadn't ended for a year and a half or 2 years or whatever you want to call it.
It's still 2020, by the way.
Sure.
Happy 2020, everybody.
Sure, thanks. The difference between going back to my hometown and seeing how it has not
Bodymore?
rebounded, yeah, and then going to Pittsburgh, which has very much rebounded
Yeah. There is a
In a-
renaissance.
in an appreciable way, not just that weird like Charles Street run in Baltimore where they tried to gentrify some shit and there's like a Starbucks, but then there's fucking rubble. Like,
Yeah,
it's
man.
Not, yeah.
I had to drive through there to get to John Patton's place. Drove through the city, and man, it is fucking. There is some desolation there, man.
It really is, and it stayed. A lot of it just stayed that way, and we moved. Just the other day was 7 years since we moved from there, and it sure as fuck wasn't like that 7 years ago. Like, there were problems, and then going to Pittsburgh, which is not a town I knew, but I'm like,
Lots of
well,
bridges.
this is all right. Like, there's people out, and there's like stuff to do, and there's great food, and
There
there's
used to
really
be a
good
Brooks
music.
Brothers,
Yeah,
but they
Ian?
they went out of business.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. They were involved in some weird fucking
Is that where the
conservative
vest came from? Is that what
nonsense.
that's about?
No, I couldn't afford a Brooks Brothers vest.
Is that a funereal vest?
I
There was
mean, it depends.
what's
What I wear to a funeral.
it's always there.
Yeah.
Burberry had some great stuff, and I really wanted. We went through a phase where we are more flush than we are now. We're fine, but there was a like, yeah, we could go buy nice clothes if we wanted to, and I almost went and bought a Burberry suit, and then I did not. That is my story. Thank you. I think we covered it all, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we didn't cover one thing.
What's that?
What's your fucking deal, man? Hold on. What's your fucking deal?
And in closing,